Hi, so today I'll be showing you how to create multiple dependent drop-down lists within Excel as well as Google Sheets. We'll be using the indirect formula and name ranges. You can go ahead and click on a link somewhere on the screen if you want to know more about indirect formula. If not, go ahead and pause the video, download the practice workbook from the link in the description down below, so then we can get started together. So what we have here is a list of different produce, being fruit, vegetable, and herbs. I just made it a bit short to explain the concept. What we would like to have is a drop-down list here to select either fruit, vegetable, or herb in B2. Then once that's selected, the dependent one should be produce from that, so it's the subcategories. And then once we've selected either, let's use the example, apple in here, then we would like to see, now this is where I add the second subgroup of being that we maybe want raw apple or an apple pie or raw banana or banana bread. So just for the sake of explaining the concept, what we'll need to do here is before we use the indirect, we need to first take each one of these and create a table and call it to its header's name. Now, this is the structure you need to do going forward if you use this approach. Usually this would be in a different tab, but for ease of seeing what we do, I've put everything on the same worksheet for ease of visually seeing it. So this is the tedious part where I will have to select the entire one, go to Insert, Create Table. Yes, it has headers. Then we'll see the table name I need to change to its header name. So I'll change that to fruit. Then vegetable, I'll do the same. Call that vegetables. So I'll just quickly do all of them and then I will get back to you when it's done. All right, so we have now gone and created a table for each one, given them their name based on their header. So as you can see, within the top left corner, when I select the first table, it says fruit, second one is vegetables, then herbs. That's your first produce selection. Then your sub options, that one falls under apple, banana, orange, broccoli, potato, parsley, celery, and mustard. So our first one being in B2 produce category, we will go to our data menu, then we'll go to the ribbon data validation, and we'll change the allow to list, and our source will be the three top here being either fruit, vegetables, or herbs. That you can go back, press OK, and I think that's quite straightforward. We have our three options. Now the first dependent follows in produce. Now before I place this within the data validation box, let's type the formula here so you can understand. If in this case, let's select one, say fruit. Here we'll type equal to indirect. We know that this cell will never move, so we can select it and say F4 to make it an absolute reference, close parentheses. Now, when we do this, it is taking the fruit and looking for a relevant reference that exists called fruit. And it should find something because we've called the table here fruit. So when I press enter, we get the list apple, banana, and orange. If I change it here, it should give me the different one. Vegetables, we have broccoli and potato. Now we obviously don't want it here. That was just to confirm if the formula is correct. Now I will select the entire formula with the equal sign, Control C. Then I will click on produce where I want to have the drop down will be there in B4. Now I go to data again, data validation. I will say I need this to be a list, and in my source I will Control V the formula, press OK. Now when I click it, I see broccoli and potato is within that list. If I change the top to fruit, I should see the list of apple, banana, orange. Excellent, so that works. Now let's take away that formula again. Now we need to add the second dependency. So let me just add one here. It's fruit, then it's apple. Now this one will need to change based on the previous selection. Again, we'll type in equal to indirect, open parentheses, and this needs to be B4. We know that it will never move, so we can make that an absolute reference. Close. Will it find a reference called Apple? Yes, because I have named this table Apple. So if I press enter, we have the option of raw and pi. Excellent. Now that we know the formula works, I can select the formula, Control C to copy it, click on B6, data, data validation, change this to list, then add it by Control V, press OK, and we have perfectly added our option. If again at the top, I change this to vegetable, then I can go underneath. I have broccoli potato as an option. Let me choose broccoli. Now under broccoli, I should see the option of raw and cooked. If I go to this drop down, I have raw and cooked. And that is as easy as it is to create your dependent format. Now this approach is quite simple and quite straightforward for one selection. Now I know in most cases sometimes we have a list of names or employees and you want to allocate them to a specific department with sub-departments, which is again dependent lists. So what we can do with this example is by taking the same approach here. I will then copy that and show you how this can be adjusted. So we'll just transpose that. Now in the first one again, we need to have the 3 top as our list of produce. So we will select A12. We will say data, data validation, list, and this needs to be selected from the 3 on top. Now, important to note that we are going to paste this formula going down to accommodate a lot more entries. So just make sure that this is absolute. So as we copy down, nothing changes within the referencing. So we press OK. Now the next one is dependent on the other one. Again, as I said, equal to indirect will be based on that selection. But what we'll need to remember here is that what will be staying the same, our column will stay the same. So A, but not the row number. So I will place my $ to the left of A. Now it says ref now because we haven't selected anything. If I select fruit, we have the drop-down list. We don't want it there. We will take that formula, Control C. I can delete that formula there. Go to data validation. Just make sure it's in the right place. Yes. Data validation, list, Control V, enter, and we have that option. Let's try the next one, equal to indirect, open parentheses, needs to be based on what's selected in that place. And we know that the column will not change, but our row will. So we leave it like that, close our parentheses, enter. If I choose something, it shows me the list there. So we want it as a table, so Control C, take away the formula, data validation, list, Control V again within the source section, enter. And now that we have it, it works. So to accommodate this going down, we can then select all 3, Control C, go down and copy it as many times as you need. And we can then just delete. The drop downs are still there, so I can choose vegetable, potato, and I have the options of boiled or fried, and we can choose herbs. This is based on it's celery, and we only have one option. We can make soup celery. So I hope that was quite informative and helps you create something easily going forward within Excel. Now let's take the same scenario and create this within Google Sheets. So here we have an example exactly the same as before within Excel. Now it is in Google Sheets. What we need to do here is place our first drop-down list, which is the easy part. So we will select B2, click on data, then select data validation. Then we will select list from a range. Now the range we need to select here is fruit, vegetable, herbs, just as we did before. Click OK, press save. Then we should have our list of options. Yes, we do. Fruit, vegetables, herbs. Perfect. Now with Excel, we typed in equal to indirect. However, Google Sheets does not allow us to place formulas within their data validation selection. They want purely a range selection. So how to overcome this is that we have to create two helper columns. The first one will be, and I'll place it here, usually this would be on another tab as I said before, so we will place this calling it produce list. When we want to create the list, it is based on the selection that we've done in B2. So here the indirect does exist. We can type equal to indirect, open parentheses, and we select B2 and close parentheses. Now it says error because we haven't selected. So if we select something like says fruit, it still says ref. Why? There was a step that I just missed here. What we did in Excel is that we created a table for each column here. Again, with Google Sheets, we do not create tables, but we can create name ranges. And it's very similar, it's just that it doesn't include the headers. So we will select apple, banana, orange, go to data, and click name ranges. Then it will ask us to place a name. So that is where we will call it fruit. Done. Then again, we'll do the next one. Remember, do not select the headers, only the content underneath it. So we'll say again, add range, and we'll call that vegetables. And I'll get back to you when I've done all of them. So now that we've named all of the ranges, now we can go ahead and just see if our produce list will be displayed here based on what's selected in B2. We'll type in equal to indirect parentheses, select B2, close parentheses, and we see that the list of apple, banana, orange has been displayed. And this is now exactly what usually happens within Excel, that would have been placed within the data validation box. It would have just picked it up and shown it as a drop-down list. However, here we cannot do that. So now we have to say that this becomes our range to display within this box. What I mean with that is we'll go to select B4, we will go to data, data validation. Again, we'll select list from a range, and what we'll have to select, our range will be from the first one being called apple, and we'll go down. Maybe we see that the longest list here is a list of 3, so I'll just go down 4 lines. All right, so we'll press OK. What's nice about Google Sheets is that whatever is blank will not be displayed in its drop-down box. With Excel, if you do have empty boxes and it's been selected, it will display that. So we'll click Save. Now when I've done that and I go to Produce, we have the list of apple, banana, and orange. If it is that I change this to vegetables, we'll notice that on the right, the produce list is updated. That then pulls through to produce drop down, and we have that option. Now we need to do the subsection of the what to do with that specific produce. So we'll create the next one called option list. And again, we'll do indirect, open parentheses, needs to be based on what we select in produce, close parentheses, enter. It says ref because we haven't selected. Let's select broccoli, for example. We have raw and cooked. Let's see, broccoli, raw and cooked. Yes, correct. And we'll select B6, data, data validation. Select from the range, and our selection will again be from the first one. And like I said, let's do max 4 for this example. Save. Now that we have that, we should have the list of raw and cooked. If I change the top to herbs, then the red pops up because it knows broccoli does not fall under herbs. So if you do this, you'll see that the 3 options are available. We'll select mustard. Then again, mustard has either seeds, red, or sauce. Now, this is, in my opinion, the best way to overcome that situation where you cannot place it within its data validation box, the formula. So you have these 2 supporting columns. And now the downside to this formula, or the downside to Google Sheets, is that similar to the example I've done before, having maybe you want to do a long list of having these sub-dependent drop-down lists cannot be done with this method, because you'll have to have a column like this for every line that you have down here. So this is how we do it, be it in Excel or within Google Sheets. As I said, within Excel, we did indirect formula and doing table ranges, giving a table name, whereas the difference is in Google Sheets, we had indirect formula and we did name ranges and then doing the support columns. So go ahead and give it a try. I'd love to hear your feedback on any other method I might have not considered in Google Sheets, and thanks for watching.